Hey everybody, I'm here. How are you doing? So, we're doing this a little bit differently today because Facebook has changed how it's allowing me to stream. So, I can't just say I'm going to stream directly into Facebook group with StreamYard anymore. I have to put it somewhere else and then share it with the group. So it's something new I'm learning. And so today is going to be a bit of a challenge. Hopefully, it's streaming to you guys live as usual and you can see me. And if you're watching this on the replay, hopefully it looks as normal. I don't know what's happening. They don't want third party apps to be in their group anymore, but their creative studio is not the best thing to try to work with to do anything. So we'll see what happens. We're working on it. It's a work in progress, and we have to be able to embrace working with the process of whatever the process is in order to keep ourselves from being stressed. That's just how life works because there's always going to be curveballs, and you have to be able to embrace working through the process of solving the curveball. So that's what we're doing today. And what we're talking about today is why loving yourself first matters. So I talk a lot about loving yourself and learning to love yourself and being someone that loves you um, unconditionally because it matters in how you perceive yourself in the world. And it matters how you perceive the world and your place in it. Without loving yourself, you're pretty much battered in the winds, right? With whatever else is happening. But when you love yourself first, you can stand up for yourself. You can move forward for yourself. You can be self determined. You can develop self confidence if you don't have it. All of the things that you need really is based on you loving yourself. And we're in a society where we talk so much about loving others. And we base that because our society here in America is primarily a Christian, Jewish society, even though there's all kinds of other religions. And even if you don't identify as being one of those two religions, like I don't, you still are faced with this reality, right? And so the reality is the Bible says, love your neighbor as yourself. And so we get very, very, very focused on loving our neighbor and trying to figure out how to give because give is better to give than to receive. All of these kinds of things we tell ourselves that sounds great, but in reality doesn't quite make sense, right? Because we forget the primary part of that. We forget the very first part of that, which is as ourselves, right? We want to love our neighbor, but we want to love them like we love us. And the basis of that is just recognizing that we're all, every living being is from the source, right? From that one creative spark, whether you call it God or the universe or Mother Nature or the universal, whatever you want to call that spark of infinite intelligence that's created all life, we all come from that. And so, because we all come from that, we should treat all these living beings with that same respect and love that we want and expect from us for ourselves. So, that whole quote of love your neighbor as you love yourself is really about first loving yourself and then loving other people as acknowledgement that they are a reflection of that same source. They came from that same source as you did, right? And acknowledging that in a way that's sharing that love and that beauty and that essence of each who we each are. And so it matters. And but when you don't love yourself first, when you skip over that and you love your neighbor, and you skip over that and you love your spouse and you love your kids and you love your friends and you love your leaders and you love everybody except you, how you see you and how you deal with you shows. And it's a recipe for, I don't want to say disaster, but it is a recipe for invisibility. It is a recipe for lack. It is a recipe for not having what it is you truly want and desire in this world. It's a recipe for starving yourself for love, for being a whipping post, for all of the things that we complain about. Loving everyone else without loving yourself first is the recipe for making that happen. And so when you start to love yourself, when you learn how to put yourself first, and and that sounds hard. Put myself first? That's so selfish, right? You're so full of yourself. You can't, how could you love yourself that much? You're so full of yourself. It's not selfishness. It's self-preservation. It's how to go from surviving to learning how to thrive. And that doesn't mean that you don't consider other people's needs. It doesn't mean that you don't care for other people. It doesn't mean that you don't ever take care of anyone else. It doesn't mean being a narcissistic creep. It means learning to recognize yourself, to love yourself, and then to recognize that others are from the source just like you. It's learning to recognize that you came from the source, that God or divine spirit or whatever you want to call it created you out of love because that's its nature, right? That you came into the world worthy and loved and with gifts to share. You are amazing. And is recognizing and accepting that. And then saying, my neighbor also came from this divine source. And my neighbor is also worthy of love and respect and attention. And my neighbor is also amazing. Because my neighbor also came into the world loved from the source. Oh, right? Now you can love your neighbor like you love yourself. But it started with you first. It started with putting you first, with saying, I am amazing. I am loved. I am worthy. And because I can recognize that I can recognize that you are too. Rather than, you're amazing and I'm a piece of crap and please talk to me. Oh my God, they spoke to me. Yes, yes. We don't want that. Even if you don't do it that literally, even if you don't do it that blatantly, so many times that's what we're doing on the inner. Because we don't fully love ourselves enough first. We don't recognize our own genius and worthiness. And so, loving yourself, being able to reflect on who you are, right, as being made in the image of the Creator itself, being put here out of love with divine gifts built in. Recognizing that in yourself changes how you see everything. It changes how you give to everything. It changes how you share everything. So it's very important we learn to love ourselves first, and then we can love everybody else, because all living things come from the source just like we do. Right? Anyway, that's my talk for today. I hope you guys got something out of this. And if you're watching on the replays, please comment, share. Let me know what you think. If you're watching it on YouTube and you like these messages, subscribe so that you can get more of them. And I hope you guys got something out of it. Peace and love. I'll talk to you later. Bye.